Okay, so anybody that's a co-host might get a pop-up about being recording or going live on Facebook. You just have to hit
Okay.
accept or okay. Um, so now we're gonna live stream on Facebook. Just a minute. Oh my gosh, I am so excited.
Me too.
I think we're live. I'm not sure. Hopefully, I've got this down right. And we're very excited. Welcome to our Let's Be Live Upper Midwest Bead Society. We are so happy you all joined us. Happy New Year. And we're just so glad we've got Andrea Beiber today. She is our magnificent designer. She's going to show us all her tips and tricks and wonderful design ideas, how to make
Yay.
multiple strand bracelets, all those things you wanted to know, how to finish them properly, how to get those crimps to work right, how
Yes.
those wrap loops, how to use those tools, which
Yes.
wire to use, all those questions you ever wanted to know about all those design hacks that these people really like know. She's amazing. And so
Yay.
we're just so excited. But before that, we do have a couple of announcements. And so we do have coming up on our next meeting, which is February 10th. That's our member only meeting. So we hope you'll become a member of the Upper Midwest Bead Society. It's only $35 a year, and we have 12 meetings for our members on the first Monday of every month. Every once in a while, it's the second Monday. So our February 10th member meeting will be Betty Cox, all about design and color. She's an amazing, colorful designer. I don't know if you've ever seen her work in the Toho Challenge or in the Battle of the Beadsmith, which she's done for, I think, a decade now. So she is our Monday night member meeting speaker. So that's February 10th, the second Monday, because everybody's going to Tucson and we want to make sure everybody has a great show and gets back in time. And so you can become a member by going to our umbs.org website, and then there is a membership page. There is a clickable link right there for PayPal, and so you can click and link and join, and then and we'll send you the Zoom link for our member meeting. Otherwise, these Saturday meetings are sponsored by the Upper Midwest Bead Society and are free to everyone. So we're so excited that you could join us today. I hope you tell your friends, and this video will be uploaded on our Upper Midwest Bead Society YouTube channel as well, and will be there for everyone to watch. So please share it with your friends. So also upcoming is our bead retreat. And so if you ever have wanted something to do in the middle of winter, and so it's coming up on March. You can find out information about that on umbs.org. But it is March 19th through 23rd. So it's a Wednesday through Sunday, and it's in Wisconsin at Camp Wapagasset. And so it's only about an hour drive from the Twin Cities. So it's really close, and we have lots of fun classes. So sign up now, and you can find more information all about that. And so we're so excited for all the different things. And so check it all out. Go to our umbs.org website and then click on calendar, and that will tell you all about what's going on for our different classes. And so today, oh my gosh, I am so excited that we can have with us Andrea Beiber. Oh my God. She's a self-taught jewelry artist, and her beading career started long over a decade ago. She's been published in a variety of beading magazines, co-authored jewelry making books. She teaches weekly live classes and tutorials, and she also has her own YouTube channel. So I don't know if you've ever seen her for art beads, for bead along. I mean, she's got her designer. Every week she's got her following making these most beautiful different designs. So I asked her to then help our group, and so she designed the pink power just for us because it's all about the heart chakra and love and self-love and caring, and it's all pink. And so we're so happy that if you picked out pink beads today too, like I did, otherwise any color, I'm so excited for her to show you. So we're gonna just hand it on over to Andrea and I'm gonna go away.
Hi, everybody. How's it going? Happy Saturday. I'm so glad to be here. And thanks for joining me today. We're going to have fun making a multi-strand pink bracelets. Here's a close-up of it. I'll be going through a step-by-step tutorial on each strand. There will be a kit available if you wanted to purchase everything to make this for yourself. Or if you want, I will also be having a supply list posted. So that way, if there's a particular bead that you like, you can just purchase the bead itself or the individual strands to create your own version. It's totally up to you. There are also some other glass color versions available that I can show just in case you liked a blue color or turquoise. I was going to give a link to those options as well. So I'm so glad that you're here today. And I'm going to flip my camera around in here in a minute so we can get started. And let me find the button. There we go. There we go. Zoom is fun. Okay, so I'm going to adjust my camera settings here. So I'm gonna does I think Zoom lets you zoom. Ah, yes, I love friendly apps when it comes to jewelry making. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask while I'm going. I think you can chat or verbalize them, however you feel comfortable. And just let me know if you have any questions. So here's a close-up of today's project. I picked pink because we're so close to Valentine's Day as well. It just seems like it's a fun February color. And each strand is a little different. When I do multi-strands, I like to mix up a variety of shapes and sizes for a different texture, like a variegated look. And this one has some check glass in it and a mixed stone. And this strand is Indonesian glass, and so it's a little bit, it was kind of blurry. There we go. So I have two different shapes on this one as well. However, I wanted to keep the idea of a similar shade of pink. So when I started this particular bracelet, um, I wanted to start around these beads as a focal point. Sorry, it's blurry. I'm trying to make sure it's not, and a shade of pink similar to this. So this glass has a gold inlay as well as a little bit of speckled darker pink on the edges. So for me, when I'm building a bracelet, I sometimes either will pick a few loose beads I might have and build around them, or I'll pick, for example, a strand of beads and build around them. So for this one, this was my primary focal point. I'm like, okay, how am I going to make a bracelet around these? So my next idea was there is gold. I wanted to mix an African brass with it. So that way it's a little bit of an antiqued brass color. It's not too heavy on the golds, but it sorry, but it also brings the gold from the bead internally out as well. And then I also wanted to mix a variety of pink to go with it. However, the pinks, I did not want them to be all the same. However, I want them to be a friendly hue of pink. So I have a different kind of pink stones as well as shapes that are color toned, like so they're by each other on the wheel, so they will complement each other with a slight different pink tone, but it also incorporates like a light pink and a rose quartz and a darker pink. So, and then I added some fun little pink crystals on the end of the bracelet. So basically when I make a bracelet, each design is a little different depending on what beads I have to work with. and what my main focal bead is. So for this one, since this was my primary focus, I just wanted to build around it. And then that's how I came up with these guys. And so I was going to demonstrate how to make this today. And then I have a secondary project if we have time. I wanted to wire up some earrings. And here's a close-up of those. So I was going to teach you how to wire up this shape in order to make dagger earrings, which is fun. This is not a difficult project, and it just depends on how much time we have today, but I think we have time to do both. So for this one, I'm using beadle on wire, and I use beadle on 49 wire, and then I use a number one crimp. And for myself, I like to use wire guards. Here's a close up of one finished. Wire guards are fantastic for preserving the wire to keep it strong and not fray longer than if you were to not use one. For example, you put a jump ring through here and it will be protected through the interior of the wire guard. And then I use a number one crimp and I go over it with a crimp cover. So when you're wearing a bracelet, your wire is going to shift as you're moving around. And this will help make sure the wire doesn't fray and stays in place as well. So I really promote using wire guards. And then I use a beadle on number one crimp that's around like this one. You can use a crimp tube as well. If you use a crimp tube, you do not need to have a crimp cover. I just use a crimp cover if I'm using a number one or number two round crimp. So when I'm crimping my wire end, I go up and through my wire protector or wire guard, and then I bring it through the other side and back down through the crimp again. And I use my chain nose pliers, and I'm going to kind of gently press my wire protector guard ends here like this, almost so they're touching. And then you want to pull your wire through nice and tight. And as you're doing that, your wire is going to nestle here in the center of the wire guard. It has a groove like this, and you want your wire to lay flat through this groove. So you have your wire lay flat through here. You want to pull it tight through here. And you also want to just have a tiny smidge of space between the top of the wire, the top of the crimp and the base of the wire guard. This way you can have a little bit of room to fit your crimp tool in between. And I just kind of bring it up and pull it tight again and crimp down. And when you crimp, you want to use the back portion of your crimp tool first, then rotate your crimp around, and we're going to the outside crimp portion of the tool, and we're going to press down on the crimp again. And now you'll have kind of like a hamburger look. That's what I call it. It's basically your wire compresses down and meets in the middle like this. And then just to make sure I do a pull test that it's nice and tight. And when you're crimping, you don't want to crimp down too hard or press down on the metal too hard. It can cause it to crack sometimes, or if the crimp is too big for the wire, it will crack and will break from around the wire and your crimp will not hold. And you want to make sure it's secure before you bead. Otherwise, it will fall apart and your beads will come off. So you want to make sure you have the right size crimp for the wire that you're using and that it is crimped all the way around nice and securely. And it's also not splitting and your metal is not cracking or breaking at any point. So when you're finished, for me, I'm going to cut off the excess wire. And then I'm going to grab a 3mm crimp cover.
Isn't Hannah doing Facebook? Hey, Andrea.
Yeah.
Hey, my question is, your screen is vertical. Is there any way to turn it horizontal just so people would have a wider view?
Yeah, I can do that.
I'm just wondering. I mean, personally, I see it fine, but I'm not sure. Maybe also it's your settings, folks. If you put it on, make sure you put it on full screen view.
Like
And
that?
have it on
Is that
speaker
better?
view. And so it's still vertical. I mean, I think it's fine, but you guys let me know, or maybe just zoom in a little bit more. But let me know, all you folks out there, because on my computer and my phone it looks fine. But just make sure you're viewing it in, your full screen view and you have it on speaker.
Let me see.
if you're watching us.
I
So,
can zoom out a little bit. Is that better?
I don't know. Let me know, all you guys out there. Let us know if it's better. We're just trying to make this clear. So get your feedback, or if you have questions, we'll.
Okay.
It's not bad. It's pretty good.
Okay, that's what we want to make sure. So I made it bigger on my end, and so I just want to make sure that everybody is happy. So I made it as big as I could. So thank you all.
Okay, so I'm going to do my third strand here. So I do 3 strands at the same time. So that way when I'm building my bracelet, I can just grab them as I'm finished. And then I finish them one on one as I'm done. So again, I have my wire going through the wire guard and back through my crimp, and I'm going to use my crimping tool again. I use the back portion of the crimping tool first and crimp down, and then rotate it around and crimp with the front part of the tool, and then you have your crimp finished. And I'm just going to cut down this little bit of excess wire. And how I crimp is with the cover is I use a 3 millimeter, and you want to bring your crimp into the center of the crimp cover. And I'm only seeing the small version. Oh, somebody just made a comment. You want to bring your crimp into the inside of the crimp cover, and then you just want to kind of gently press down each side. I'm using chain nose pliers that are curved. And sometimes if you need to, you can just kind of gently rotate it around in your hand and press down. And then you have it all crimped. So I have my 3 strands for the bracelet finished, and I'm going to go ahead and get started. So for the first strand, I have the check glass pattern mixed in with the stones. So for this one, I start off with, how did I do this? And also I'll type out the directions too. That way they're a little bit more precise if you want to have a bead sequence. So I'm going to start with one of my African brass spacer beads. And you don't have to do the beads exactly like this either. And I'm just going to start incorporating some of the stones that I'm using. And these are from Tejas beads. I can't. Are you guys catching the comments?
Yeah, and so that's why I was asking, and it's fine on my screen, so I'm not sure if it's people on their phone, if how they're viewing. Um, it's still a vertical screen versus a horizontal. But I
Okay.
don't know if we can change that. It's just the whole view, I think, because you're on an iPhone, or maybe it's just that's the way it is.
Actually.
But it didn't change when she turned it sideways. So that's
Oh, well, it's bigger to me
this
when I flip my phone
sideways.
sideways.
I'm on my computer and I've got everybody on the screen besides her.
You need to be on your view on speaker. So on the very top, when you see the word view, go with your arrow button next to it, change it from gallery to speaker. Then all you see is Andrea. And then she's beautiful right in the middle, and how she's got it now, her mat is fully exposed. So let me know, but yeah, that's the best way to view it.
Yep, I fixed it. Thank
Super
you.
duper. Thanks, you guys. Just making sure everybody's happy.
Okay, so I'm adding 2 pink beads, and I'm doing an African brass spacer bead that looks like this. It's a really pretty, kind of like an oblong shape. And so when I'm doing each strand on this one, I'm separating everything out with the I'm not sure how to say this word, but it's a skinny African brass spacer bead. I love these. I get these from the bead chest, and I use them in a lot of my jewelry as a spacer bead. I'm also using a variety of pink stones, and I have a supply list up from Tejas beads in a variety of pink, and I'm using some matte rondelles as well as some faceted rondelles and some prism pink ones. So that way it's a little bit of a variety of stones that have slightly different shades of pinks as well as textures. When I'm doing a multi-strand bracelet, I like to mix up my beads so it's not all one like one color of bead with one shape of bead. That's a real uniform look. I like to mix them up a little bit so they're chunky, or you have a little bit of symmetry. So you might have some skinnier ones or a thinner strand mixed in with the larger strand. But they're all almost the same width as well. So that way the overall bracelet is very balanced, and I don't have one that's too large and maybe overpowers the other strands. So it's just kind of like a uniform balanced look. And then for this one, I'm just mixing some pink beads in. I do like to separate them out a little bit if they're close in color and shape. That way, again, there's a little bit of variety on the bracelet itself. So it's not too uniform looking. Here we go. And I'm just mixing in the matte rondelle with the faceted and a round. I think primarily these are rhodochrosite. Did I say that right? Rochelle?
It's rhodochrosite. I'm just
Okay.
trying to figure out. There's now a pop-up on the screen that says Andrea's iPhone, and I'm trying to. I apologize
Oh,
to everybody who's
no.
watching on Facebook. It's not there on Zoom. So if you'd like to join us on Zoom, there is an easy link in the comment on umbs.org to join us on Zoom. But I'm trying to remove it.
Oh, no.
I just don't know how to do that because I don't know where it came from.
I don't know I'm sorry, I don't know either. I don't know how to help.
If anybody has any ideas,
Facebook is being salty today. So,
exactly. So correct, exactly.
oh, you know what? All right. So I have two beads on one end. This one, I'm also making sure I do the same pattern I did before. Okay. So for the length of the bracelet, sometimes you have to adjust how many beads you have on one side. So this is a 7.5-inch bracelet. So I will have one less stone on one side than the other one, but that's okay. Most people don't notice. Just designed to kind of keep it all the same size. Here we go. One, two. Okay, so for this particular pattern, I'm going to have two pink stones on one end, separated by an African spacer bead, the check glass, and then I go into three stones and then check glass, and three stones and check glass, and then I'm down to one spacer bead and one stone. So for this one, this will be, when you add the clasp to it, a 7.5-inch long bracelet. Now, if you need to make this smaller, you could remove a couple beads on the end, or if you need to make it longer, add an extra bead or add a jump ring. So I usually make my bracelets 7.5 inches. It seems to be the most popular size. And the other thing is, if I just need to lengthen it to like 8 inches, I just add a jump ring on the end. That way I don't have to remake the bracelet from scratch. So, oh, I just disappeared.
Trying to figure out how to remove this, so I'm just doing a thing.
Oh,
I'm going back again, darling. I
okay. Oh,
apologize.
you're fine. I can see myself in the little window.
Weird. It just went away. Oh, yours just went away too.
Right, that's because I just undid hers. So now I'm going to spotlight again for everyone,
Okay.
and it's gone. Okay.
Okay, is it working?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay, so I'm done with this strand, and I'm going to again go through my crimp and my wire guard here and bring the wire down. And when you're crimping the other end, when you have beads,
Accredited clip.
I know.
We just hit the normal one.
I did. But I don't want this
Turn your volume off.
when you're crimping the other
I did. I turned it off. Okay.
Shh.
end. So when you're crimping the other end and you have a weight of beads on your wire strand, you want to make sure you don't have a large gap on the other end. And so before I crimp everything, one, I want to make sure I have enough loose wire to fold my bracelet in a round position without it being too stiff. If it's too stiff, that means my wire is too tight and it won't fold around my wrist. So I just try to find an even space here where my wire is tight enough for me to crimp it down and not have too large of a gap, but also have a small gap here in the wire where the beads can move up on one end and I can curl it around my wrist. So I feel like I'm in a good space on this one. I have probably 2 millimeters here. That way my beads can fluctuate. And you also want to have enough space for your crimping tool to go through, as well as to add a crimp cover. And you also want to make sure when you're doing this and you crimp down that you still have that space, because when you add a crimp cover, it will take up part of it, which could also not leave enough room on the wire and cause your strand to be too tight. And then you lack enough space in order to turn it. So there's kind of a fine balance of having enough space on your wire to crimp and close without it being too tight or leaving a gap. So I finished this, then I'm going to add my other crimp cover, and then we are done with our first strand. Yay! And sometimes getting your crimp on there is a little difficult, but we got it. And if they don't cooperate too much, you can pinch down a little bit, which opens them up a tiny bit to give you a little bit more of that open mouth in the center to slide around your crimp. And I'm going to crimp this down, and I'm just going to rotate it around on my chain nose pliers to make sure that my cover is crimped down. And then here we go. So it can curl around my wrist. It's not too tight, and I don't have a large wire gap on the end. So this one is good. So we're going to start the next strand. Next strand, I'm using, again, the African spacer beads, and then I'm doing a blend of Indonesian glass. So I'm mixing it up with this really pretty pink rondelle glass. Again, I get this from the bead chest. And then I'll be using the larger rondelle Indonesian glass. And this is a matte pink, which also ties in with the matte pink stone that I have. So everything kind of matches and incorporates on each strand. So we have the matte glass, and you have the matte beads that are also the same shape and almost the same color. So when I do designs, I try really hard to like bring out each bead from each strand and have the color pop out and match, as well as mix up the designs. So it's kind of a variegated texture look, but they also match and they blend well together. It's kind of it's kind of fun how that works out. So I'm doing 2 of the rondelle spacer beads, and then I'm adding 2 of the glass, and then 2 rondelle spacer beads. And then I will switch over to 2 more pieces of glass, and then I add the thicker glass. So for this strand, I wanted to do 2 of the spacer beads, 2 rows of glass, and the skinny glass, and then add the thicker rondelle bead, like so. And then the third strand will be all stones, and then I just tie the whole bracelet together. So for this one, I do this. If anybody has any questions, feel free to pop in and ask me anything, or if you have a comment, let me know.
When do you use a crimp tube versus a crimp bead?
That is just your preference. The number 2 crimp tube works great from Beadalon. So it's just your preference. Some people like tubes over the round crimps. So there is no particular way, just as if you want to use it or not. And then if you use a tube, you don't need a crimp cover. They just have a different look on the end of the wire. So it's just purely preference. So again, I'm just adding some spacer beads in between my glass here. And so how's everybody doing weather-wise? I was just back out east and they have a lot of snow over there. They're getting more snow this weekend. We're like, it's kind of dry here at the moment. Okay, So again, I'm almost done with this strand. So I'm just, again, mixing up different glass beads with the spacer beads. And as I'm going to, I kind of hold it up to my first strand just to make sure I double check where I'm at length so it's not too short or too long. Like so. And these are really fun pink beads. They're almost like Pepto-Bismol pink. I really like them. They're like really pink.
Yeah, they really are pretty. Oops, I need to come. Okay, that- I'm very into your pink mode too, and so
Yeah, usually I don't do just like all pink, but I saw these beads and was like, I'm just gonna do pink, especially being so close to Valentine's Day.
well, I mix a little sakura agate in mine, or some people know it as flower agate, so it's a very pale pink mixed
Oh
with
yeah, that's really
where
pretty. I
those
have some.
little color, the browns and the beige, and then some hematoid quartz. So all the different golds and oranges and reds running through the quartz. So
Oh,
mine
that
take a
sounds beautiful.
yeah. And then the check glass, those pink flowers, the ones that have that glow to them. We used them in the Toho challenge and I think
Oh, those are
2018 or no, 2017. The California Dreamin' Challenge, whatever year that was. But they glow in the dark too. So
Oh, how fun.
every now these things glow in the dark.
and
That's
so, well, I
fun.
asked Starman what beads glow in the dark, and then they showed me on the website, and I'm like, oh, I've got those already. I didn't know they glowed. So, and glow under black light, you just gotta charge them up.
How fun. Oh, and just to show you too, when you get this is how the pink beads come on a strand. So you get a really long strand of this Indonesian glass when you use it. And same for the other ones. They're really nice, pretty matte, like of a thicker wheel shape. All right. So sometimes I look at those beads and I think I'm not sure what I'm going to do with them because it can be a little bit of a challenge. Um, those particular kinds of glass. Here we go. And there we go. And I need two more. Yeah, that's cool. They have glow in the dark beads. I have some uranium glass. I should show you really quick. So this is check glass and it's full too before it's cut. Um,
That's
and
so
it's your
cool.
isn't it beautiful? It's uranium. It's only like 1%, so it won't hurt you. But this also glows. And if you have it under a black light, it glows. And what they do in the check is they tube glass like this and then they cut it, and then this becomes this. So when they cut check glass designs, sometimes it comes like this. They slice it, they put it into a mold, and the mold folds in half like this, and then you will get the etched glass with the designs in it. So you can have like 3 different tubes going into one of these, and then the mold will press it, and then it'll come into that. But this is what check glass is in its raw form. But it's really cool because it glows in the dark.
That's so cool. I always wonder how all those processors work, and they squeeze it out of the thing and there's your bead.
Yeah, a lot of them are made in people's ovens in their homes, even still over there. So just depends. Okay. They just have ways of like lifting their roof up so that way it can outgas. And then yeah, it's really cool. They make glass over there. Okay, so my strand for this one looks like it's done. I hold it next to each other to just double check the length that it'll be long enough to match the first one. And yes, you can use a ruler. Sometimes I just kind of look at it and think rule of thumb. I'm like, how is this going to work? So I'm a hair short. Actually, let me use a little bit of glass. Here we go. And if it's a little bit longer, it's fine. It'll be fine on your wrist if it's just a tad bit longer on the clasp. Okay, I'm good. So I'm going to finish this off. And then we will head on to the third strand. Yay. So this bracelet probably takes maybe half an hour to an hour. I don't probably more like a half an hour. I don't have a lot of wire wrapping on this one. I think I just added charms. If I do a wire wrapped bracelet with the wire wrapping along the chain, those can take about 2 hours to make. Just wire wrapping on ball head pins repeatedly. So again, I'm going to like pinch this one down and pull my wire through. And again, I want to make sure, especially with rondelle glass, this is a little bit pickier. So it likes to fold in on itself. And if it's too tight, it won't turn around the wrist. So you just kind of want to, again, make sure you have a little bit of space between the crimp bead and your spacer bead or your final bead. And you want to make sure you have enough room for your beads to go up onto the wire. So that way they're not stacking on top of each other. For this particular glass, if it's too tight on the wire, they will just kind of buckle on each other and you want them to lay nice and flat on your wrist. So you just want to adjust your crimp a little bit as you're working with it to make sure you have a little bit of a wire gap for the beads to lay flat and curve around your wrist, but not too much where it will just have a big chunk of wire that's kind of hanging out, because then that looks kind of tacky. Okay. So I'm going to cut this off and then add a wire crimp cover. And here we go. And this, and press it down, and there we go. So, all right, our second strand is finished. Yay. So your bracelet's half done. And so I'm going to grab my third strand, and this one's going to be the gemstone mix. I'm going to kind of bump the glass out of the way on this one. And also, I thought it'd be fun to incorporate some little glass flowers. If you wanted to add more of a floral touch, there are some fun little pink bell flowers that I thought about using on the end as a charm. So for this one, again, I'm just picking a variety of pink stones. And this one I'm separating with two 11O glass seed beads. So this could be where you want to drop in a Toho glass seed bead if you have one, and just put them together in between each stone. That way I'm kind of keeping with the idea of the gold from the check glass and the spacer beads, but it's also a different shape using 11O, to just kind of break up the texture and the heaviness of, like, too much gold sometimes can be overpowering. So sometimes I use seed beads because they're a little bit more dainty, and they kind of tuck in and hide a little bit more. So you can see more of the stone and less of the metal or the gold, if you want just gold as an accent, not too heavy. So I'm just going to add 2 seed beads between each bead, like so. And then I just continue this around the desired length of the bracelet strand. So again, I'm trying to do like a 7.5-inch bracelet. So I'm beading 7 inches of wire. And and I'm mixing in 3 different shapes of stones. So I think it's called a prism shape. And these stones again are from Tejas beads. And then I'm using a rondelle, and then I'm using a round bead. So, and these are all 8mm. That way they're consistent in sizing. Okay. Is everybody doing okay? It's really quiet. I hope everyone's doing all right.
We are doing good. We just keep losing things on the floor. This is so much fun. But we've got two people kind of in my little studio. So it's a makeshift party over here. And so how do you keep your studio organized and your trays organized and all your designs? Like, how do you keep yourself well? Do you have any tricks?
I'm sort of organized and sort of not. So like I have some bins, or I'll demonstrate. I have some bins where I organize some things like brass components or something, or like this is like part of my African bead stash. And then other times I'm not organized, I'll just dump stuff in a baggie and put it off to the side because this is I want to get into these beads mix baggie. So it's it's on my table so I don't forget those are beads I want to look at later. And then sometimes I have a box full of beads. I'm like, I need to go through those later. So it's kind of funny. My whole table is a mess. And then I have boxes on the floor and boxes next to me on a shelf somewhere. But I'm like, I call it creative chaos. But honestly, I'm like, if I put them all away, I'll forget what I have. And
Mhm.
so if I leave them out, there's like miniature plans involved. So like this box has a certain kind of beads, but these all are like future plans. And I'm like, if I put them somewhere else, I'll forget about them. So it's it makes sense in my head, but to somebody else, it would look super messy and nothing makes any sense. But they're kind of like little projects in baggies too.
I totally
I have,
relate
yeah,
100%.
I have projects in baggies.
100%. So I just didn't know if my chaos, was bad or good. And I mean, I think there's good chaos, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if the tape my at least in my case, if my table is completely clean, I wouldn't feel as creative.
Right.
Because then I forget what beads I have. So I like to kind of look around and go, oh yeah, I forgot I have these, and then pair them with something else.
Between there and there, because it's a toggle.
I love the selection of beads you picked out. There's such a great mix. I was looking at your supply list and I love beaded bead chest, but I went
Oh,
to other sources too. So, and all
awesome.
colors and it's really nice.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I like to kind of mix it up that way. When you look at it, it's like a pattern, almost like a rug or something, like tapestry. So it's not just all one long bead, the same shape going down. It's like different shapes and slightly different color tones and textures. And it mixes it up on your wrist a little bit. So as you're wearing your bracelet and it turns on your wrist, you have a little something different to look at. Okay, so I might have enough room for one
I
more
like the
bead.
palette too, because you have a standard bead like it's within the pink realm or whatever, but you have the dark shades of some mud colored pink beads and the brighter pink beads and different finishes. So it's really, really cool.
Oh, thanks. I really appreciate your feedback. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish off this strand and then crimp it closed and then add a clasp around like so. Sometimes it takes a few minutes to get through there. And then I'm going to pinch down the wire guards a little bit and bring the wire down. Okay, and since I'm using stones too, stones are a little bit heavier. And I do want to make sure, again, I can rotate everything around, but I also want to make sure I'm doing that. I don't have too much drag on my wire because the weight of the stones will sometimes pull on it. And then you have too much of a wire gap. So I just kind of bring it in nice and tight underneath the wire guards like so and pinch it down.
And so you're using the 2x2 crimps and then the standard size crimping tool, correct?
Oh, I'm using a #1 crimp from Beadalon. And then I'm using a 3mm crimp cover from Beadalon. So like these are paired to go together. Um, and if you use their spool of wire, it will tell you let me find it. It'll also tell you what crimps to use. So like this is 24. I primarily use an 18. But if you're using a 24, like for example, it tells you to use a 2 or 3 round or a #2 or 3 tube. So it's the nice thing about their wire brand is they'll tell you how to close off with it. But I mostly use 18, so I will be using a #1 or #2 round or tube. And then if I'm using the round crimp, I'll use a 3mm crimp cover to go over it. They also have the wire information with crimps on the back as well. So this is really handy because they have 4 different kinds of crimps. But I love their products. I use their wire. It's really good.
That's good to know, because I have some wire, but I think the other brands I have don't have all that information on it.
Yeah, it's really yeah, it's really nice. They put that on all of their information so you know what fits with what, because they have really thick wire as well that you need a larger crimp for. Okay, so this one's done. All right, so when I finish the 3 strands, I'm gonna kind of push this out of the way. I want to grab a jump ring. I'm using a 3 or 6 millimeter and a heavy gauge jump ring. That way it will hold everything together. And I'm gonna bring all 3 strands together. Sometimes the slightly larger jump rings work a little bit better. However, I don't want to have too large of a jump ring because it will take away from the bracelet strands. I like it to just kind of be there and hide, bring them together, but also kind of hide on the clasp. Okay. And then I'm gonna do this side like this. Okay. And close that one down. All right, so my bracelet is closed. So next I'm going to add a clasp. And I'm not sure how you want to, I would like to do this, Rochelle. I'm not sure how you guys are able to do this, but since I have 2, how would you feel, like, would it be okay if I gave this bracelet away to one of your subscribers this morning that joined us?
Oh my gosh, wow. I
Like,
mean,
I would love to do that if you don't mind doing a drawing or something for it and picking a winner.
yeah, we totally could. And so if you are watching us on Zoom, then put in the comments, that I love Andrea's design or something fabulous like that. And we will enter your name in the drawing for the free bracelet. And if you're on Facebook watching us, then in the comments of the video, put the same thing, or hearts and hands and Andrea. We're just so happy. And so on Facebook, you put it in the comments if you're watching. And so, because if you're commenting live, we can watch it, or if you watch the video this afternoon because you couldn't stay. So we're so excited you could join us. Thanks for a great idea, Andrea.
You're welcome. It just popped into my head. I was like, I'm an extra on. I'd love to bless one of your followers here with it. Then somebody can enjoy wearing it.
Oh my gosh. Awesome.
All right. And I'm adding 2 crystal charms here. And these are fun little pink rhinestone crystals to just kind of add a little something to the wrist. Here we go. Awesome. All right. And it's finished. Yay! So you have your clasp attached. I just do one more 3 millimeter jump ring to each end of the closure to add the clasp, and then just added some terms on the on the wrist. And here you go. Here's a close up of today's finished project. Yay! I hope you guys love making one for yourself. And again, the check glasses from my friends at Bead and Bistro. They're on Etsy and they have this too. I told them I would share it in case people wanted a different color. Here we go. Because they also have them in blue and turquoise. And I thought it'd be fun to do one of these in a different color. So they have, this is kind of like a yellow. This is an aquamarine blue. And then this is kind of like a periwinkle blue. And then I have a turquoise blue, a turquoise. Like, I love this one, kind of like a teal turquoise. So if you're not necessarily sold on the pink, that's fine. There are these glass beads that are also available in different colors on their website on Etsy. Just throwing it out there in case you're like, oh, I like teal. you know, you can mix this teal, for example, with turquoise. I was kind of thinking that would be pretty if I had a turquoise strand, or amazonite would work really well, or an aquamarine stone. And then you could still use the gold with it as well and just do a blue theme instead. But for today's, um, here we go. And then this glass, again, this is from the bead chest, and then the stones are all from Tejas beads. And the clasp is a really pretty gold clasp. I think I got it from Art Beads. But I do have a kit available in my shop if you wanted to just buy the kit. That way I have everything together for you, and you can grab it in one-stop shopping and make your own. Or if you want the bracelet finished, I'll have one for sale in my store too. Or if you just want to make it, we got a supply list. You can pick out what you want. So I try to have all the bases covered for everyone to be able to tap in where it would fit them the most. But here's a close up of it. I think it's really pretty. I love this color of pink.
It's absolutely adorable.
It is, yes, really pretty.
And I just love
I
the
love-
media. And so it didn't take you very long to string it up. How long did it take you to lay out the beads and decide on the pattern? That's what took me the longest.
Yeah, the design part takes me the longest. It really depends. Sometimes it can take a couple hours. If I'm like trying to go around my beads and figure out what I want to do, yeah, it can be a little time consuming to design. And then, or I'll string it and take it apart and then make it again and change one or two beads in it. So that, yeah, whole process sometimes can take 3 hours just to make a bracelet. It it really varies. If something catches my eye right off the bat, I might sit down and pump it out in an hour. It's just funny how that works when you're designing. It depends on how my brain's working for the day too.
Mhm.
Sometimes, some days are easier than others.
I totally get it. And it's always a fun challenge, I think.
Yeah, you sit down and like clicks and you're like, oh man, my ideas are flowing. This is great. My brain is on fire. And then other days I stare at my table and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing today. Nothing, nothing's working right. I hate beads. I'm gonna sell them all off. I quit.
Yeah.
We all have days like that where it's like, never mind, forget it. I wanted to share this really quick since you are a Toho glass bead person. Made this with Art Beads last week. These are really pretty new. They have new Toho glass beads that just came out at Art Beads. So I did this project, and it's just a fun, real simple leather bracelet if you like Toho beads. And then just to share some of those really quick, there is this really fun neon set I got. I gotta show these because they're so fun, especially if you're from the 80s, you would love these.
Oh, none of us remember the 80s.
Oh my gosh, don't you love the 80s?
Oh yeah, these are so fun to find. Taking it out of my bag really quick. Here we go. Look at how fun these are.
Oh my gosh, wow.
They're
Still
called
have
neon lights. They
Very
are,
big though.
it doesn't say, I think they're 6.0. They're really large, but these could go over leather, or if you wanted to turn them into like a stretch bracelet, or you could wire them. These are thick, but I just love that color. I thought they were so fun. But yeah, these are artbeads.com, and these ones too, if you're looking for some fun glass Toho beads, they got some new mixes out.
Didn't you make part of the designer mixes? Weren't you part of the
I did not. The warehouse staff did that, and then kind of was like they named them, which is fun. They put all the mixes together, and they have a lot of mixes. They have a lot of new mixes. They're all really fun. They did some Halloween and Christmas and all kinds of mixes. All right, so the next project I wanted to do was earrings. So this is more for like wire wrapping. I do have a YouTube tutorial on, I listed if you just want to make these earrings too. If you want to have more of a detailed video, I have one posted so you can like stop and pause it and watch it. But for these ones, I used 11.0 seed beads in check glass, as well as 5x3 rondelles, and then some 4mm fire polish, and then 3mm rounds. And then I used the single hole dagger beads. For today, I pulled out one of the glass Toho blends from Art Beats that I snagged in purple. Let me find them. And then I also found some purple dagger beads. So I thought, amethyst, purple, February's around the corner again. And this particular mix of Toho beads is a variety of shapes and colors of purple and sizes. So they have the round and I always blank on what this one's called. Rochelle, you would know this particular bugle. There's a bugle one in here, and then there's another one. It's kind of like a faceted, like
Is it is it a hex shape or a triangle shape?
yeah, maybe it's a hex shape. There we go. Try to. Here we go. It's kind of like, oops.
Yeah, I think that's a 8 hex.
There you go. So I thought, I haven't opened these yet. We would just wing it with some wire and see how it would go with the earrings. I thought that would be fun to try. Because we have different sizes on here. So I'm going to actually dump out this tube. That way I can kind of filter through, because you want to have the same size bead on each row. And then each subsequent row, you want to have the beads tuck in under each other and be able to fit on the frame. So you want to start with small and then work your way up and then back down and then up again. So I thought this would be fun to experiment with, because you have different colors and different sizes of the glass Toho beads in here. So I will be using 18 gauge copper wire to start. It is Artistic Wire brand wire. And I think for this one, what did I do? Like 3 inches maybe. Okay, so I'm gonna go with like 3 inches. So you want to cut 2 pieces of the same size wire, and you don't have to use copper. I like copper in case I want to oxidize it when I'm finished with my projects. Also, sometimes it's easier to wire wrap on, because some craft wires, when it's plated, the plating will come off as you're working with it, whereas raw copper will hold its color, and I don't have to worry about any plating rubbing off and then ruining the earring. The first thing I do if I use coiled wire, because oftentimes, especially if it's thicker, you're going to get little bends in the wire like this. So I like to smooth it out like so, just to make sure it's a little bit straighter before I bend it. And makes it a little bit easier to work with. Plus you're warming it up. When you straighten your wire, it also kind of warms it up a little bit, which is easier to bend it as well without having to anneal it. You just kind
Andrea,
of go over this a few times. The next thing I do is
Andrea,
yeah.
what's that tool that you're using to straighten it out?
Oh, this is vinyl pliers. This is also by Beadalon. So this is like a nylon, a thick like nylon resin based end here. And so, it doesn't hurt you, and it doesn't leave any marks on the wire or mar it either. So it smooths it out and helps you straighten it, as well as takes out kinks. And then if you have any tiny nicks in the wire, sometimes it will kind of smooth out the nicks as well. So this, if you're a wire wrapper, you definitely want a pair of these.
And what are they called?
Nylon pliers. I think they're nylon pliers. Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
And they're like $9 or something. They're not expensive. And then the next tool I use depends. When I was in metalworking, we call this a cut burr. Basically, this is also by Beadalon. It's called a wire rounder. Here's the packaging for it. They also have a metal version that you can attach to your drill with the same thing. If you prefer to use a drill, I like to use the wood handle one. So when I'm making my own ear wires, for example, or doing anything with wire, when you cut it, it can be sharp, right? So what this does is it's rounded, and you put it on the end of your wire that you've cut, and it will smooth it out and round it for you. this is you have to have this if you're making ear wires because nobody wants to put a raw end through their earlobe, right? So this will smooth it out and round it at the same time. So you just twist it on the end of your wire like so, a few times. You can go back and forth and then just double check your wire and it should be nice and smooth and rounded. That way it doesn't irritate you as you're wearing it, or if you're going to make your wires and it goes in and out of your ear. Some people, again, don't want to do this. So if you use the attachment on the drill, and it's a lot faster, but I'm just kind of old school. So I'm just going to stick on the end of my wire and just kind of rotate it back and forth, and this will round it.
What's that tool called again?
It's called a wire rounder.
Wire rounder. Okay, thank you.
Oh yeah, these are great. If you're working with wire at all, these are a great tool.
It's also known as a burr cup, Burr. I think there's two R's, but most.
Yeah.
So either one, like Lotus has them, Bobby Bead has them. Most of your favorite art stores, or jewelry places will have them.
Yeah, I was gonna say I used to call them a cup burr, but they call it wire rounder. I was like, all right, that's cool, whatevs. Just kind of go back and forth for a few minutes. Yay. And this side. Like so. Okay, so I have those done. And so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a pair of bail stepping pliers. These are also from Beetle. These are a new release this year. These just came out. And with bail tool here, you have different size of round portions here on the pliers. And these allow you to make your own bails to round your wire out. If you're doing a bracelet, if you're doing earrings, this is a great tool to use if you're going to be wire wrapping. I've used it for bracelets. It's a must-have. And with each size too, it's great if you're going to make your own ear wires. For example, you might want to use this step or this step. So it's a great tool to use for multiple projects with wire wrapping. And so for this one, I'm going to grab my 2 cut strands here and smooth these out again because I keep moving them around. And you also want to make sure too, I probably should have said this earlier, that your wire is the same length just in case. So you want to bring them together and you want to find your center point. And then you can also do this with the ruler, just double check how long it is, grab your permanent marker and dot the center of the wire so you know precisely where your center is. And actually I should do that since I've used my ruler. So I'm going to do that really quick. And these earrings too are adjustable. So if you want to have them smaller, you just cut less wire. But it's the same. It'll be the same design. So sometimes the wire can come out just a little bit too long and you can cut it and shorten it as well, or just make different size earrings. Okay, so I'm going to use for this one, I think I used this bail size. So you want to grab the center of your wire and you can do your wire singly or together, but because I want them to be the same section, I want them in the same rounded like portion like this, the same size. I want to do them together. And then you also want to make sure that when you bring your wire around, they're the same lengths. We need to do this. Okay, there we go. So you bring them around and you just bend your wire around the center bail making that you're using here on the tool. Just kind of do this. So then we have our top loops formed. Now, the other thing you can do if you choose to, I've done this before, is I hammer the end. It just adds, a little detail to them. You don't have to hammer it, or it also causes the wire to stiffen a little bit more before you add your ear wires to it. Some people like to hammer them, some people don't. It's complete your preference, but you want to do it at the same time. That way your loops are the same size. Sometimes, even though you're using the same bail section, if you do your wire one at a time, One might come out a little bit larger than the other one, but if you do them at the same time, hopefully they come out about the same size at the top. So I have my 2 ends made, and whoop, you just smooth this one out a little bit. They get bent as you're working. It's fine. I just smooth it out again, like so. And other times I'm like, whoops, this wire is a teeny bit too much longer on this side, so that's fine. Just grab my wire cutters and I just kind of eyeball it and trim it down again so they're the same length. That's gonna happen. And if they're, it's fine. Just grab your round tool, do it again. And this one's finished. And do this one. That one's almost the same. And finish. So again, if it's like too long of a frame, you can just use a little bit less wire and shorten it if you choose to. It's totally your preference. And smooth this out again. So before I start adding beads, I just kind of gently pry these open a little bit. That way I have my space here to bead in the center, like so. So the next step is I'm going to grab 26 gauge artistic wire brand, and I'm using copper again, and I'm going to cut about 3 feet of wire. So you might not use 3 feet, but on this project, it's better to have extra than not enough because you'll have to start over. So I like to have a little bit of extra. That way I know I have enough to wire up around each side here of my frame, and then to go back and forth on it without having to get stuck in the middle and having to start over. So for this one, I'm going to start at the top here, and you want to get your wire, on there like nice. Here we go. I need these guys. You want to make sure it's on there up as close to the top as possible, and also you want them kind of stacked together, and you also want to cut this. So I'm gonna bring these together a little bit. You also want your coils right under each other, so that way it's a little bit nicer looking. So I'm gonna bring these together a little bit and tighten this one. And then I'm gonna cut off this excess wire. Now, when you're first getting this established on the frame, it will move around a little bit until you have some beads on there and you wire wrap it down, and then everything will hold perfectly and it won't move. So the more you wire wrap onto the frame, the more stable it becomes and everything kind of sits still on there, which is nice. Now, I've never opened these purple beads before, so I'm not quite sure what pattern to do till I get into it. So I'm just going to kind of wing it as we go along, which is fun. It's always fun to kind of wing it live on camera. So because I'm starting at the top, I do want to have a smaller bead. So I'm going to pick up the larger round bead here. It's not quite an 11-0, but it'll fit in the center. So I'm going to grab this one first. I'm going to tuck it in between the 2 frames like this and go underneath the next part of the frame. And I'm going to go around about 3 times. And when you're wire wrapping on the frame, you want to make sure you have enough space between the next bead row and the bottom of the previous bead. You don't want them to like stack up on top of each other. You want them to lay side by side. So sometimes you might have to wire wrap a little bit more around the next row just to make sure you have enough space. Cause like going here, I'm right underneath. So I'm gonna actually go around one more time. That way I have space where I'm good. So I'm gonna grab a smaller purple bead here. And as you're going, you might have to go, oh, well, how many is going to fit on here? 3. Okay, I think 3 will work. If it doesn't work, you just grab a different bead because you want them to fit all the way across, tucked in between the frame and underneath the previous bead.
And are you wrapping around the same side of the wire? Are you crossing around and back, or what?
You go back and forth. So like this one's done, so I'm gonna tuck this in the inside of my frame here. Like so, I'm gonna go back to the other side. But I want it to sit on the inside of the frame. I don't want them to pop out and hang on the inside. I want them to kind of sit in between the 2 copper stems here. So if it doesn't fit, I'll pick a different bead.
So then does it wrap around the wire once or twice, or how many times on each side?
Well, it depends on what beads you have in the middle. So if I'm using a larger bead, I will have to wire wrap more times because I need to have the space going around it on the next row down. So
I
if I'm
get
using
it.
if I'm using a bunch of little ones, you have less wire wrapping because I don't have as much space like this one. I can undo that wrap and then go back underneath. But I want to make sure it sits. I'm gonna take this one off in the middle of this frame. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to grab this and go around here because I need less wire wrapping. I'm just going to go like 3 times. And then as I'm working too, I use my chain nose pliers to help kind of bring those coils together. And I'm going to go around back through this way and flip it over. You can do that if you want. And I'm going to go back through my next row of beads. So it's just 1, 2, 3, finding the right size of bead to go here in the center. Like so. And I think those purple, oh, yeah, that purple one works great. So I'm just going to go back around to the other side, wire wrap a few times, make sure again my coils are nice and pinched down together and rotate it around. So and as you're working too, sometimes you might have to like make sure that this is kind of staying in the right space or that it doesn't get bent too much or doesn't flip over. But mostly you don't want to put too much pressure on this with your hand while you're holding the frames down while you're wire wrapping. Okay, so those work. I need to make it a little bit tighter too. You also want to make sure you pull your wire nice and tight so you don't have any wire gaps between the beads that you're putting on and the side stem. Okay, that's better. And then also you can kind of gently just kind of push them down into the center so they'll sit again in between the 2 wire stems here a bit. I want that one to go in a little bit better. And sometimes they like to move around. It's just, this is a little bit, this project takes a little bit more time because you want to make sure you have the right size bead on each row and that they fit in there and that everything goes together. Okay. All right. I think that looks good. All right. So I'm going to flip it around and add the next size bead. So for this one, because I have a couple smaller ones, and now I'm getting into a larger portion here. Oh, sorry. Somebody's trying to call me. Nope. She's trying to join a Zoom the wrong way. Sorry. It's somebody who wants to watch, I guess. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the previous beads that I used and bring these back down again. So I'm trying to form a pattern here. And when you have a larger space on the inside of your frame, you can incorporate larger beads to help fill up the gap and also still have a nice pattern. Here we go. Okay, that's down. I'm going to go back around again, and I'm going to go back to using a smaller bead. So I'm going to bring in the 11 O's again. So you just go back and forth between the frame, adding beads to create a pattern. Like so. What am I doing? I'm going to like tuck this in there and then go down. Okay, I need like 2 more. So sometimes you can kind of look at it and kind of gauge what size bead you need. And this is a great way to use bead soup too. If you have a bunch of seed beads laying around, you can also use these to use in the earring design. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah,
Oh,
you're
okay, good.
great.
Just making
Uh-huh.
sure. Okay. So like if you have a extra tube of seed beads laying around, this is a great way to use up extra seed beads. And then you can just add some of the dagger beads at the end. Because a lot of people have dagger beads and aren't sure what to use with them. So I really like this idea. It's a good way to use up dagger beads if you have them. Okay. Again, I'm just going to go through the stem a few times and then back around. Like so. And I'm going to bring in, for fun, I'm going to bring in these great big beads. These look like fun to use. Okay, one more. This is a great way of using Toho beads. Those blends too, because they have different shapes and sizes. Okay, I need to go around. So again, sometimes when you're going to start mixing in larger beads, you just want to wire wrap, leaving enough space in the frame and underneath each row for them to kind of tuck in. And sometimes, like these aren't going to fit here. So I'm going to use these a little bit further down. It's you want to make sure the beads line up so that we don't have a large wire gap in the middle. So I'm gonna use a different one because that's not gonna work. And it's just kind of trial and error, taking it apart, adding beads, taking beads off till you find what works to fit in the middle. So just add a few more of these. Thanks you guys for hanging out with me today, by the way. I hope you all are having a good time learning something new.
Oh my God, we're having so much fun over here. I personally, I made one bracelet and then tried it on my wrist and then realized one of the beads was the wrong size. It was just too long and didn't fit around my wrist. It worked to my necklace, but not there. So I remade it all over again. But now I'm
Oh,
fascinated at your earrings. So I'm
thank you.
not.
Aren't these fun so far? Can you
They
guys see
really
that
are
okay?
fun. And
It's like,
we have so much scrap wire laying around as well. I mean, come on, you know,
Pretty
this
yeah,
is,
cool idea.
great way to use wire too. Yep.
and we have all these beads left on your tray, which is totally random sizes, random shapes. So you could just make a pair of earrings out of what's left on your tray every week, I think, and they'd be fun and different.
That's true.
You have such great ideas, Andrea. Oh my gosh. And so people can follow you and watch you on your other shows as well, because you are streaming live like multiple times a week, aren't you?
I am. I stream on my Facebook page. I stream on artbeats.com once a week. Um, and I do a little bit of Jesse James beads work on Monday and Tejas beads on Friday and then art beads on Tuesday. And I'm hoping to expand to another one more day a week. And then I also have a YouTube channel.
And I put all those links into the chat here on Zoom. If you're there, they're at the very top of the chat. And then Hannah has put them into the Facebook chat. So if
Oh,
you are
nice.
watching, then please, check out those links and follow them. Laura and Linda just want to say on Facebook how much they love your use of daggers. That is
Oh,
just such a
awesome.
great way to do it.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yay. All right, so I've got like two more. Yeah, I like how this earring's coming out. And again, I'm just designing this on the fly. So you could do the same thing. Just grab a tube of glass seed beads, hopefully Toho, because Rochelle, we are Toho reps over here. Um, gotta do the Toho. Hopefully you have some glass Toho beads and you can incorporate them. Trying to drop this down the wire. Going down here a little bit slow. Okay, here we go. And I'm going to bring them back around this way and see if I have enough room in here. Yeah, I think they'll work. Sometimes if you have a little bit of wire in the end showing, it's all right. I'm just not crazy about like a great big gap of wire. Here we go. So here's a close up again. See how this is fun coming together with the different colors of purple and the rows line up. They stack on top of each other nicely. And if you're done too and you're using the copper wire, you can also put it in liver of sulfur to antique your wire. So it is a little bit of a darker shade of copper. So, all right, I'm going to grab another wire here, another purple here. And just keep going till you get towards the end of your copper and then you add the dagger beads.
I'm looking at your website and I already have a kit picked out
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it.
on the website, on your website. And I was like, oh, look at that, look at that.
Thank you. Yeah, some of those kits are published in a magazine called Bella More, if you've ever heard of it.
Yes, I love that magazine,
Love
so.
that magazine. I was in it. I had to bail the last one because I haven't had time, but I was in it every single magazine for like the last 3 years. So I have a couple different bracelet designs in them. Okay, I think this will work. All right, so I'm gonna do this row of 11 O's, and now I think I'm gonna go into the daggers because you want your daggers to sit a little bit here on in the inside of the frame so they're supported going across. Like so. I have a little bit of frame on the edges of them. They kind of just help hold it in place. I think I'm actually gonna do one more row of these. Okay, I'm gonna do one more row of these ones and I'll add daggers. And depending on how large the base is for your daggers, you can add a different size spacer bead in between each one. Okay, sorry if I'm going off camera a little bit. I'm just trying to get them on the wire because the wire likes to kind of flop around a little bit. Okay. Like so. Okay. Oop. Yeah, everyone's so okay. Here we go. Slide it down. Take it down there. Okay. So, okay, great. That matches almost perfect. So I think I can put one more piece of glass and then the next row we'll add the daggers and then we're done with this one. So this project is a little time consuming, the wire wrapping and adding the beads. It probably takes longer because I'm designing it as we go, but this is, a project that will take a little bit of time to just make sure everything's stacked and wire wrapped the right way. Hold that in place like that and then rotate it around. Oh, that's so pretty. I love it. Oh, looks like a tapestry. I love it. Okay, so I'm going to add the dagger glass and I need to make sure I have enough of these purple ones for the other earrings. So I'm going to try the smaller ones. So again, it's just kind of trial and error. I'm not sure what size to use in between until I start getting it on here, but here we go. And I need to go one more loop around. The other thing is you got to have enough space between each rows and the daggers. So you might have to go down. Okay, that'll work. All right, so I'm using, in this case, an 11-0 as a spacer bead to go in between each dagger. And I'm using the single drill dagger. You can use the double one. You'll just want to, if you have the 2-hole dagger, at the top, you'll just want to go through each hole on the dagger and pass through and wire it onto the frame. Unless you have them hang lower down, then you can just ignore the second row and just go through the top. Okay. And sorry, I'm digging through to make sure I have the right size bead. Okay. Like so, okay. I think I have room for one more. And go. So I usually do 5 daggers in the center of the earring. Now, if you're doing a smaller earring, you might be able to cram 4, but usually you do 5 daggers, no matter how long your earring is in the center. And then you want it to fit like right here and kind of like nestle in between both frames. So I'm going to pull my wire tight here and bring it around this edge. And then this will be the last portion and then we'll be done. Like so. Okay. And then cut off extra wire. Again, if you have extra wire, it's fine. Just put off to the side, use it for something else. You want to have extra wire than not enough. If you run out halfway on this project, you can add extra wire through it to keep it going. But sometimes it's kind of obvious you've added extra wire and that might not look as nice. So I try to use just one piece of wire. That way it looks nicer that way. All right, so here's a close-up of this one. I think that's really pretty, the different
love
colors of
it.
purples.
That's really cute.
Yeah, super pretty.
Yeah, I like how those came out. I literally just dug these out of a huge bag of dagger beads to try to find some purple ones that matched. Those actually look really good. And then, so again, if you want, you can hammer the end or not hammer the end. And then when you're done, you just add an ear wire and your earring is finished. And then you could, you know, incorporate different colors as well, which is nice. So, you know, if you're making a birthday present or something, you can use a birthstone color. Also, if you have stones, you can mix 3mm stones through here. You don't just have to use glass. Like if you have, it's a good way to use these up. If you have the little tiny faceted beads, you can do a few rows of faceted beads. I see a lot of people doing that. So you can have a gemstone pair of earrings and a dagger mix. So really it's just a great concept of an earring, and you can add whichever kind of beads you want to it to craft it into your own design, you know, with gemstones or glass. And then also you can turn 'em into a pendant for a necklace. So like you could just add chain to this and a necklace would work. All
Yeah,
right,
it would be a great necklace, pendant, or just a key fob, purse decoration. I mean,
Zipper pull.
zipper pull. They're even adding
oh yeah, that's a
charms to
good
your
one.
water bottles.
Uh,
You know,
All the kids that came.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know I needed a charm on my
Yeah.
water bottle until I saw it. And it was like, see, decorate everything. Life is too short not to be decorated.
I love that idea. Okay, there we go. Yeah, that's a really, you could probably, yeah, I love the idea. Zipper pull too. That's also fun. All right. How much more time do we have? Should I do the other one or?
Yeah, you've
Yeah.
got a half an hour, so it just all depends on your, I didn't know there was another one. I mean, unless you wanted to just go over and tell us a little bit more. Are all your links I put in there? You know, how can people find you? Aren't you coming up to Tucson here too? You're going to Tucson, right?
I am. I will be in Tucson in Color of the Stone in the casino working for Beadalon. So I will be having Beadalon products. I'll be doing live demonstrations, and I have a whole set of kits I'll be doing. Like I'll give you guys a sneak peek because no one's seen this yet. So this is one of the projects I have.
Oh, that
I'm
is so cool. I
fun.
love the
I'm using
stars.
Isn't it fun? I'm using Star Trek glass, and then I have all these little tiny gold star beads I wire wrapped, and then I'm mixing some kyanite stone with it. So, and then I have like moon charms at the bottom. So like I'm gonna do a series of projects of earrings
So are
and
those
bracelets.
crimped or is that on chain? What's the base of that?
Oh, it's beading wire,
Oh,
and then I just attach these guys with the jump ring on it.
ah.
That way the little stars match the Star Trek glass. But I was gonna have this as a kit, and then I'll do a live demonstration, and I'll also have a YouTube video on how to make it with the information. But I'm I'm gonna have like 10 projects that I'm bringing, and then I'll be demonstrating how to use all their different tools and wires on a table. I'll be right behind the front door, so when you walk into Color of the Stone, you'll see me right away. But it'll be fun. I'm excited to show everybody how to use their tools and their wire and stuff like that.
Well, it really is a great like the triple tool. I've got one that's got a double, but that one is brand new with a triple, right?
This one, yeah, this
And
just
each side then is different too. So that's 6 different sizes.
Yep, there's 6 different sizes. So you have the smallest one here and it goes down to the largest one. And this is, yeah, I can demonstrate how they work too. They're They're great for if you're going to make your own ear wires. So again, like for example, you're going to do your ear wire. You want to use the larger one. Looks like this. Actually, if I'm going to do ear wires, let me do this different. I'll show you guys how to make ear wire really quick. I'm just going to do one. So you take your ear wire. This. And this is just a really quick example. Round the end with your round nose pliers. Just to be flat. Take your end like this. Sorry, I haven't made ear wires for a little while. I'm just kind of winging it. And then round the end, and then you have a pair of ear wires.
That is just so cool.
So yeah, it's a really handy tool. Can use it, if you want to make your own sterling ear wires, or copper in this case. And then when you're done, you can make as many as you want and then tumble them. You've got a tumbler, hardens the metal, and then boom, you've got your own series of ear wires. So yeah, this tool is really handy for, I've done some other earrings. Let me pull them out really quick. So here's another design idea I have. So again, it's 18 gauge wire and you just curve the end and then you bring up each end too like this with your round nose pliers and then just attached chain at the bottom. So let me get the ear wire out.
I saw those on Facebook the other day. Those are so
Oh,
adorable.
thank you. And then you can just add some stones on the bottom as dangles. So here's one thing I did. The other thing you can do is, where are my other ones? Okay, I can't find my other one. Is you flip it around this direction, bring it together, add your ear wire, and I wire wrap in between. I've also wire wrapped around. So you have stones going on the outside. And there's so there's so many things you can do with just this concept of wire. So I have used these. I also use their mandrel set, the wood mandrel set to kind of curve the top around. And then you just gently hammer it. The hammering textures it, gives it a little bit of a finish, but it also strengthens the copper wire so it makes it stiffer to work with.
Nice. And is that an 18 gauge wire?
Yeah, this one's also 18 gauge artistic brand wire. And then if I wire wrap, I use the 24, the 26, depending on what stones I'm working with. So yeah,
And then,
here's the fun idea.
oh, cool. We also have a question on Facebook. And so Lori would like to know if you're gonna have another bead box soon. I don't know if you've seen Andrea's bead boxes in the past, but they're fun, full of so much cool stuff.
Thank you for asking, Lori. I wanted to do the Bohemian one again. I had a really fun Tucson box last year too. I would like to do one.
So hopefully, and then I really am looking forward to some of your other projects. Like you're on Tuesday, every day you're live with art beads, and those are all kinds of fun projects.
Oh yeah, those are always different too. Mm-hmm.
And so, and what time of day are you on? Because you can set yourself up so you get a notification. So every time Andrea goes live, then you'd know and you could follow.
Oh, that's awesome. With art beads, it's Tuesdays at 11 Pacific time or 2 o'clock East Coast. I think that's what it is. I think I'm 11. And then on my Facebook, I usually go live at noon West Coast time or 3 o'clock East Coast time. And then I just wanted to show this too. Like here's another wire wrapping idea that you can do using artistic wire brand. I just wire wrap some stones and then I formed my own little mini bales here on the bottom of the hoop. And again, you can use your round nose pliers or you can use the skinny portion part of your bale pliers to just get in there and form your little loops as well.
How do you get them to dangle so nice and free form from the Just you give it more space enough so that it moves, or is it a loop-de-loop?
It's just I form a loop, but before I close it off, I slide the stone on there and then wire wrap it around the frame so it has a little gap here, so the stone can just kind of hang in it. So these are really big fun earrings.
Yeah,
They're
they
kind of big.
are, and I've seen it wrapped tightly, but I never know how to get it to dangle correctly. So, because I like movement and stones and fringe and
Yeah, I'll have to do that on another class, show you how to like wire wrap different ways that you can go around earrings.
yeah.
That would be fun because there's lots of different ways you can wire wrap with wire to make earrings. Different. Oh, I have another one I can show you. It's really cool.
And that's what I just love about the possibilities. And you're mixing things together, mixing media, mixing stuff, and it really does, give just a unique look to everything.
This is another wire wrapping that you can do over hoops. So these are 4mm stones, or you can use 5mm stones. And I just wire wrap little cups around the base. So when you look at the hoop, it looks like this. And I think I have a YouTube tutorial for this, but it just kind of shows you how you can wire, just a fun way of wire wrapping stones onto a hoop. And then when you're wearing them, they just kind of come off your ear like this. But
Oh,
this is 26 gauge artistic wire brand wire over a hoop.
okay.
So yeah, we have lots of wire wrapping things that you can do out there with wire.
The possibilities are limitless. You just need a little time and a little bit of imagination.
Yeah, exactly. Do I flip my camera back around?
You
Or
can if you want to.
okay.
People will love to see your beautiful face. If anybody has any more questions, please let us know on any of these wonderful
I got it.
projects, questions, any of the
Yeah.
trying to find the right size. That's what's so hard.
Yes.
And so
The-
when you're incorporating the different findings and charms and making all of those, how do you get it really to, I mean, with the weird shapes, do you always do the same size and it just works,
Of wire?
or the bracelet, or like placement of your findings or placement of your, how do you get it to always work right?
I don't. I just string it on the wire and see how it goes. And I'm like, oh, it works. I'm gonna leave. And other times I have to pull it off, add an extra bead, take a bead off, try it again, mix it up. I just it's trial and error every single time. I'm like, oh, this works great. I don't know. Sometimes it comes together really well. Other times it's more of a challenge.
Well, that's
So-
good to hear as I sit here.
Yeah, it really is good to hear. I'm
Really?
not the only one that is like, has readjusted things 9 times.
Yep. Nope. Sometimes I pull the whole bracelet apart and start over again. And just a reminder, this is going to be free gift to somebody watching today. Just make sure if you haven't left a comment to leave a comment somewhere that we can capture you and then select a random winner. So yay. And it's 7.5 inches long. Hopefully it fits you and it's beautiful. Yay.
Woohoo, so pretty. Oh my gosh. And yeah, and pink. We're channeling pink. All those beads.
Pink, purple.
Purple, all of our
Green.
favorite colors, mix them all together. And so, does anybody want to show us what they made today? I can go to the gallery. Hold on, let me get you there, Marlene. Let me switch it back to the gallery.
I just
Yeah.
made a 1 strand.
Oh, that's
Right.
beautiful. I love the blue. That's really pretty.
Yeah, and then you've got all those sparkly crystal spacers in between.
Love it. Looks like Chinese, Chinese China.
It
That's
really
really
does.
pretty. I like the blue.
I'm
really
not even
cool.
sure what stone it is. I thought it was pretty, so I bought it.
It's really pretty. I like it.
It's gorgeous. Who else wants to show us what they made? Anybody? Come on, you guys. Don't be shy. Okay, wait a minute, Beth. Hold on. I'm going to spotlight you. And if you want to unmute Beth, then we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can
Yes.
hear you. Yeah. Let's see what you made, Beth.
Okay.
I needed this really bad to do this.
Oh, that's really
Oh, it's
pretty.
beautiful.
I like that.
That's
Is it-
Beautiful.
It's,
gorgeous.
yeah, real pearls and sterling silver and a toggle clasp.
And I
That's
love
so
your
pretty.
charmy dangle that you have over
Yes.
there
I
too.
like how you used the spacer beads and gapped everything out like that. That's really pretty.
Thank you. I am actually addicted to that. I love putting the spacer beads on there. This is one I made many years ago with the same type of wire that you're teaching others how to do, and I think that is so good to do that.
It's
Really
beautiful.
pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't done this in a long time. I've been seed beading. I want to thank you because I'm having so much fun right now and I'm not going to stop.
I'm so glad.
And this one I'm doing right now it
Oh,
has
it's pretty.
onyx and I'm starting to add malachite.
Oh, that's a great
Beautiful.
combination. That's really
Thank
pretty.
you.
That's super. And we did add you to the drawing. And so,
This
oh my
is one
gosh,
from a
you
lot.
were
Love
so,
that one. That's great.
wow.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, you were
I've been
so
cleaning my
fast.
studio up and all the wonderful stuff I've been finding, and I'm so happy. And
Yeah.
Rochelle, what you've done for me and all of you at the Upper Midwest Bead Society are the closest thing to my heart, that you guys are family.
Yay. Yay.
Well,
That's
you are family,
awesome.
one big feeding family. We love you, Beth, and we're so
Thank you.
happy you are feeling up to joining today. I
Yes.
love what you made.
Oh, and this is my brand new laptop.
Yay!
Oh.
You got it working.
Yes, yes. It's called the Lenovo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
a
I never tried one of those before. I got it from Best Buy. They were having a sale.
Okay.
Nice.
There you go. Yeah.
Yay!
Oh, you guys, I
Oh.
wish we could see each other like this every day.
I wish we could too. It would be fun.
Definitely. Super duper. Thanks so much.
Andrea, thank you so much.
Oh,
Thank
you're
you.
so welcome. I'm glad that you're here with us today. Thanks for being
And
here.
I'm gonna keep watching you when you do things. I love
Oh,
it.
thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Paulette, do you want to show us?
Yes, I have one to show. This is
Yay.
actually, I made this, this is my first bracelet I ever made ever. And it's cloisonné and you know, there's bicones. I learned what a bicone was.
Beautiful. I love it.
I took a class and the person taught us how to do the crimp beads and whatever. And I actually have a lot of more beads to make another, like a necklace multi-strand using with this and some other stuff. And so I was like, oh, and believe it or not, every now and then I pull this thing out and like, oh, I need to make some more of these different designs. I bet you this was probably 15 years ago, but it's so much fun. But I have all the other stuff. So I was taking another class today, but I have a lot of things that are similar to what she has in her shop. And I did buy a kit today. And a few
Oh,
other
thanks.
things.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
So
Thank
I
you.
was to
I like
support,
your
so anyway,
necklace. I was
yeah,
eyeballing your
this is a-
necklace. It's really pretty. I like it.
Thank you so much. But it's so much fun to get back to stringing, and putting all interesting beads together. So thank you so much.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you're here today. Thank you.
This is so much fun. Oh my gosh. And a lot of times, we get out of the stringing because we're stuck in our seed beading. But I really, really love so much doing all this, it's instant gratification. And we do need that as well. So to go with my bracelets, I did make a necklace.
How beautiful that is.
I love it.
Gorgeous.
It's really
So
pretty.
these are all the different pinks, and so
Yeah.
the necklace will be 3 strands mixing these together. But it's my version of like a mala style, and then of course a dragonfly on the bottom, and it's so it's fun, and I made it after work, so just relax and chill out after work with a few beads. It really puts you in a better perspective. And
Yes.
so that's why we hope you will join us for more of these wonderful events. We have them twice a month, you know, with the Upper Midwest Bead Society.
Yep.
And you can also watch all of our other events that we've done for the last 4 years. We have them all on our YouTube channel. And so if you go to umbs.org, you can then go to the archive page and then find all the lists and all the patterns, all the links, everything to download, and then go right to YouTube and then watch it again. It's also left on the Upper Midwest Bead Society Facebook page. Thanks to Facebook's ever eternal, nothing ever leaves. And so you can find it there too. And so, but this also doesn't have to stop. You can join the Upper Midwest Bead Society membership. It's only $35 a year. And all these wonderful ladies you see in the background are members, and Andrea is one of our newest members. So we are so excited. And so join us on the first Monday of every month, or the second Monday if it happens to be February, or September, you know, or July. We just have it when we can, right? We're happy you joined us today. And so anybody have any last thank you comments, anything, questions?
I have to ask about
I
your
have a-
mermaid earring.
My mermaid earring is inspiration from my girlfriend in Florida. And so her earring has long magenta hair, and this is me, so it's got the orange hair. But my last time in Tucson, 2020, I bought an OG's beadboard. If anybody's ever heard of OG's, it's capital O and then Geees. I think there's 3 E's, at least 2. But so it's a design board. One side has peyote or brick stitch, and then there's holes in them. So like for size 11 beads or size 8 beads, and you just set your beads right in there, make your design, and then pick up your beads and bead them. There's no more drawing on graph paper and trying to like go crazy. And then the other side is a loom side or square stitch. And so it's just so easy to design. So this was my first project I ever made on my OG's beadboard, was mermaids. And then it's just a brick stitch to put it all together.
Oh, cool. Wow.
So if anybody's looking for some more fun brick stitch classes, we do have them coming up at Lotus Beads. And speaking of Lotus Beads, we do have our next in-person meeting on March 8th. It will be a Let's Bead Live, so it's free for everyone, the whole entire world. And except for in person, we can fit 40 people in the room at the Edina Senior Center. So otherwise, if we overlap, we'll spill out into the, you know, lobby or something. But you can watch us on Zoom. But that will be Natalia and Kayla from Be the Vibes. It's a wonderful wire wrapping project. We're going to be making the Tree of Life pendant
Oh, that would be nice.
with wire and beads. And so that is March 8th. So that'll be an in-person meeting here in Minneapolis, and Saturday from, you know, 1 to 3-ish. We'll have open beading earlier, so that way you'll have to come early at 12:30 for open beading. So there's so much fun. So join the fun. Don't sit home alone. Zoom in or stream on, and, you know, join the fun with friends, right? And yes, I will. That was Bernie BK's iPad. I can enter you if you haven't. Put your name in the comment chat on Zoom or Facebook. I'm writing everybody's names down so that we can enter the drawing, and then we will message you. You know, Terry, though, I need your last name. You signed on, but I don't know how to get a hold of you after this if I don't know your last name. So if you could chat me back your last name so I can enter you in. Thank you. We love you all. Thanks for joining us today. Oh my
Thank
gosh.
you.
And check out Andrea. So your website again is what, Andrea?
AndreaBeiberDesigns.com with an I. So Andria. I know it's so weird.
Not at all. We
Okay.
love it. And then also that's the same on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube as well, right?
Yeah, they're all, yeah, it's all the same. Thank you, by the way, for stopping by, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
I
This
had
is
fun, Rochelle. It was good. That was fun. Thank
so
you.
much fun. And then so post pictures of your designs when you finish them in the comments on the video on Facebook so that everybody could see them when you're done. We want to share or put them in the Upper Midwest Bead Society, group. Show us what you did after you finish because I know I'm gonna have to take
You have to
time.
say hi.
Oh my gosh, look at the little parrot. Hi, Beth. Look.
Oh, cute.
He's
Cute.
so cute. Oh
Thank
my
you.
gosh. Thanks so much for joining us today. I'm going to sign
Bye.
the Facebook. So we'll see you next time.
Bye,
And
everybody. Thank you.
have a super
Bye,
day.
thanks.
I love you too.
All right, we're done with Facebook. And now let's stop recording.